Mr. Bernard Lee of TechnoBridges Consortium as the moderator, together with Alvin Lau, Mr. Alvin Wang Graylin, Mr. Alex M, and Mr. Graylin of Cinnox to come on stage. Mr. Bernard, the floor is yours.
Hello. Hi. Okay. Yes, I'm honored to be here. And today we have representatives from 3 very interesting companies. And first of all, of course, with Pantheon, you create the avatars and then the representatives, so that we could have a perfected representation of something human, which can be used very consistently, that can be scaled and applied to many of our real case use scenarios. And then we have HTC, which I believe takes everything that can be done with AI and avatars as close to us human beings as possible, like now in the future. And finally, Cinnox, last but not least. I know you and Peter for a long time, and I saw the birth of Cinnox, and it's really interesting because it dives into verticals and allows enterprises to bridge everything together and make the foundation of the avatar technology and the presence to us more real. So today, our topic is how do we apply AI to everyday lives? And in addition to the 3 companies in here, to spice things up a little bit, to make it more interesting, I'm going to bring in 2 more. You didn't see it coming, do you? Right? And one is Google, and one is Microsoft. And I wanted to, yeah, I can see your expression, right? Just give me a minute to explain why I bring these 2 companies in. So about a little while ago, not too long ago, so Google, I read from news, they raised a red flag and say, hey, large language models, and they are a threat to our existence. And knowing the fact that Google actually owns about 90% of the search engine market, and Microsoft actually owns about 9%. And Microsoft invested $1 billion into large language models, and they want to bring it to Bing. And suddenly Google says, "Oh, red alert!" Da, 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 da. And it is about, you guessed it, chatbots. It's about all of you in here. It's what you guys are doing. So I wanted to ask each one of you, what do you think about this, and where do you see it coming in real life? So maybe we should do it in order of here from left to right.
Sure. So funny thing you mentioned that, because I actually studied natural language AI processing back when I was in college, and in 2005 I started the first natural language search company in China, working with the mobile carriers. So all 3 mobile carriers was our customer, and we allow people to send in a question and come back with real answers instead of just links, because back then there was no 3G and there was no mobile internet, right? So we did it without the benefits of all of this large language model. So it was much harder, and we were more data-driven using traditional methods. But to see what's possible today, and as you saw from the presentation, the complexity of the amount of data that's being put into these systems, it's the things that we wanted to do 20 years ago is now finally being achieved. And I am, I guess, very excited about the potential of this, because this unleashes the potential for personalized education to every child on earth, right? Because one of the rarest resources we have on this planet right now is good teachers. And I think all of us are probably here today because we, at some point, had a really good teacher that influenced us. But now if we can allow all knowledge in history to be attainable and accessible to every child, and have that child have a device, a glasses, a headphone, whatever, to be able to always be able to give them that personalized education, and to do it at the speed and pace that's suitable to that child. I think the world is going to be a much better place, because the more educated the population, the more peaceful we will be, and the more harmonious we will be.
Hello, Bernard. Hello, Bernard. Let's welcome Alvin Lau to join the panel.
Yes, yes, Alvin. Yes.
Please.
So thank you very much. So in terms of this, I do believe like AI is gradually transforming mainly on customer experience per se. Number one, a lot of customers, regardless of the industry that they're in, they're able to access information on the go. And especially what I've mentioned earlier in dipping or utilizing multiple neural networks, we can actually provide contextual information to them on the go. That's my take on that.
So from my point of view, I think actually the most critical one would be the ethical problem, because I think that would be the main reason why there's a red flag. Because now AI is really down to like every daily life, and you have a lot of opportunity to ask questions whenever you want. However, how you are able to really guarantee those kind of answer is really suitable for those different situations and not really harm the humans in their daily life, and also especially for children. For example, like there's a lot of schools really banning kind of using AI in their education. I think that would be the critical things that I think everyone should think about as well.
Yeah, although I think those schools who are banning are very short-sighted, because they are definitely reducing a potential big benefit to their children. It's about how to use the technology.
True. I think it's more about how you are seeing the things at this very beginning time when you are not familiar with the thing that you're looking at. So with the time go by, I think a lot of people are getting used to it and really understand the foundation and also the opportunity that it can also bring us. So then that would be the time when people are really embracing the technologies.
Ivan? Yes, actually, I'm going to repeat a little bit of my stimulus question here, because I wanted to bring in like two more companies, and Google and Microsoft. And Google owning 90% of the search market, and they raised the red flag, when Microsoft invested $1 billion in large language models. And I wanted your opinion on what you see, and why did Google raise the red flag, and why was Google so afraid of large language models, and what do you see coming?
Yeah, I think the actually on my point of view is I kind of agree that we kind of have to embrace the future. What's happening is even though it's kind of unstoppable at this stage. But in my opinion, I think that what's the red flag is about is more on the data privacy. I think that's something that a lot of people are concerned. For example, like when we deploy digital human solutions in the public, like people are concerned: is there a camera? What is the camera going to do with our data, right? So the voice recording. What are you going to do with the voice recording? So these are the things that we see now. But when we iron it out, regulate it more, like I don't know, within a decade, I think these it's going to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can add one sentence to that, because I think they raised the red flag not because they were trying to be good to society, it's because they're trying to protect their business model. Right? At the end of the day, if a question can be answered without the links, there's no way for them to make money. They make money because people go to their links and they charge for those links. Right? So when you can get an answer directly, it essentially bypasses the entire Google business model, and that's why they're very afraid.
Whoa, it's really getting interesting. Okay, the next one. What I heard, from the first round of responses, I hear two things which caught my mind. First is children. right? And the second is ethics. And also, I heard about speed in your presentation. And I have noticed that a lot of kids, especially those who are really, really adept at using technology, including AI, and for example, they're watching YouTube videos in 2x, right? The amount of information that is available for all of us are so vast, and with large language models, they are really, really accelerating the acquisition of knowledge, and it's becoming so like unstoppable. It's becoming unstoppable. And when so much information is available to all the children, and they can acquire it as they wish in any direction they want, because especially after search engine now comes LLM, and it really, really follows your train of thought. So the kids, they can go in a very good direction, or they can actually go off in a tangent and go into a not so good direction. And also, I wanted to ask all of you, what do you think should be done, and what do you think would happen? Maybe from that side,
okay.
from Alvin, this time.
Okay. Then I'll go first. I think it's more or less like there are so many standards already established in the society, right? And during the Web 2.0, we have like a lot of different ISO compliance things that we need to do. I think at this moment, the crucial part for the whole society to embrace this kind of technology is setting up the standard. I think there's the key reason why Microsoft and Google are also saying this kind of red flag. Elon Musk do that as well. It's pushing the whole society to set a standard that no matter individual persons or the enterprise can follow. I think that's very crucial at this moment, so that from the application provider or solution provider like us, we could follow those kind of standards and providing the solution that meet this kind of trend, but also compliance to what should be done to protect the children and also protect the humans. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think on top of that, I think regulating the whole thing is important. But I think there's always this debate on how much we can regulate when the whole innovation or technology is being developed, right? Like this actually, I think I remember I was reading on news last week about the EU is actually putting too much regulations to actually hinder the development, or try to be, is the whole EU going to be competitive among the rest of the world when the regulations is, they are less regulated. So I think right now, yes, I think I want to actually join in associations that could help regulate or set some guidelines on that. Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah, I mean, on this note, I believe educational institutions play a critical role in allowing students or even children to actually access AI. Having this regulated in a sense where they're only able to access certain information would be crucial for the better good.
Yeah, right now, every single market today, or every single region has regulation that's either in discussion or have been approved. I think China is actually the first market to have actually installed those regulations for AI protection. And I actually think, at least from looking at what I've seen, the way that they're approaching it makes a lot of sense. And it is trying to ensure that there's proper provenance of the data, that there's transparency of information of which is AI generated, which is human generated. It also has liability of who should be at fault if that data, something bad happens because of that data. So those type of rules, I think, actually makes a lot of sense. What's happening right now in the US is that there's a lot of regulatory capture issues where you have the top 2 or 3 or 4 companies in the space essentially deciding what the regulation is, which makes it very difficult for the smaller companies to catch up. So they're using regulation as a way to block innovation, not necessarily to create innovation. And at the end of the day, we should not rely on the government to manage how our children's raised, right? I think as a parent, my daughter just graduated from college, so I had to see her grow up, and I have never relied on the government to instill her values. And I think for all of us with children, we need to have that same philosophy. The biggest responsibility for making sure your children sees the right thing, thinks the right thing, is to install those values from when they're young. And AI can be used to do either, right? Because the algorithm feeds them that next video. When you go to TikTok or when you go to YouTube, it always suggests what's the next video. And if the algorithm is saying, I want them to stay as long as possible, then it will create echo chambers that keeps reinforcing what they already believe. What we should do is actually to create a more balanced AI model that allows all views to be given, and let the children, or adults, make their own decisions in terms of what data they want to, what data they're exposed to, and what views that they take on. So,
this is getting better than I expected, which leads me to the next question, which is actually more specific to Cinnox. So you mentioned about that, it's not about all regulations, and I want to talk about role models. Because I believe that one of the most important thing about using avatar and using algorithms to drive the avatar, such as a chatbot that you're doing, would be to infuse the idea of a role model, be it in the enterprise, like to represent a company, to represent an organization, or even the government, and also about the future of education. How do you do the role model? So I know from what I know about Cinnox is that you have culture, you have personality, and then you can take all of that and you can put into the AI. I wanted to ask Alex, how do you do that?
Sure, thank you very much. Now, going back into what I've been presenting earlier regarding the neural networks, in terms of this, like we leverage the individual's brain to actually, number one, for the enterprise side, on attaining information from top-performing employees. This then becomes a standard for best practices on how to handle specific questions or how to handle specific scenarios. I believe for the education side, being able to extract valuable information from professors, from teachers, will allow the same principles for students as well.
I think the key thing here is that people are, actually technology is a tool, right? So it's more about what kind of data that we put into the whole algorithm or the model to improve in terms of general productivity and efficiency of the enterprise. So we are integrating with not only the individual knowledge, but also the enterprise capability, enterprise knowledge, industry knowledge, and also the whole universal knowledge into the model, so that letting different situations to be cater the benefit to be benefit from the value that the model can actually driven from. So I think the key thing here is we need to kind of arm ourselves up with how we're able to wisely use this kind of technology and adopt into different situations, especially on the business situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think all technology is a double-edged sword, right? So it's how we use it. But in terms of these virtual idols or avatar-driven AI systems, what we've actually did studies in terms of looking at how the impact is on people's opinions, and we found that when dealing with avatar-driven, AI-driven models, children were influenced to be both their mindset and their behaviors were able to be influenced within about a 1 month period significantly, much more so than they actually did with human teachers or influencers because they saw it as their friends. They became connected and to these characters. And then they'd actually influenced their internal opinions. So we really need to be very careful what type of messages we have these avatars go out and speak, because it could be used to sell products, but it could also be used to create hate or create divisiveness or to create a certain nationalism, right? So it's very important how we use these spokespeople to get the message out, because they can be also personalized to say in a way that most appeals to the ears of the audience.
I think that would be also the benefit it comes from, because for example, like an enterprise, when we are choosing a celebrity or we want to some big player in the market to representing the whole company, they still have their personality, right? They have their history, they have their experience, but how we are able to isolate that part from my business, because that is the whole thing that we are able to let the society to know what the company message want to elaborate, rather than his personal life, his scandal, or his drama. That's actually the benefit that this kind of technology can bring to the business. So by using avatar, I would actually think that it's boosting the economics and also business from this kind of personal layer, so that you can kind of tailor-making this kind of solution to meet different kind of business needs.
Yeah, for businesses it makes perfect sense, because there's no risk, right? You don't have any scandal risk, and you can make it whatever, and then you own all the rights to it, which is also part of the issue right now with the Hollywood strike, is because a lot of these celebrities or stars, the studios now own the right to their likeness, and they can make them say anything, act in any movie. They don't have to pay them. So we really need to balance kind of the commercial benefits versus the ethical issues that's in question.
So Ivan, what about your avatars? Do you have personalities, and how do you manage the personalities?
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, I think this is more like the direct hit for us, right? Because it's very visuals. Yeah, so we do, I think on the safe side, we are actually mostly dealing with the business clients. But by, building that brand and, culture, brand identity, the brand's persona is something that we work with. And I think, yes, on the consumer side, it's a very sensitive topic. So I think on our end, we are learning. I would say we're learning from, our clients and projects. We will try to see how we could tap into that in the, with all the ethicals and all these principles are laid out. So I mean, as a business, we're playing safe on that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great, because it's the safest approach is to let the humans with the right power decide. I agree with that. Thank you. And okay, and having with that, I'm gonna throw one more interesting thing in here, and before we wrap up. It's I understand there's a way to jailbreak like a large language model, and the guy is called Dan. Do anything now, right? So I also noticed that Dan was recently censored, so the jailbreak has been closed. That also brings us to the fact that what about freedom of speech? So I wanted to throw this last question before we close the floor.
I actually think that we need to be very careful, like who decides what rules to put into, and what is proper, right? Because I think a lot of people said that the large language models have become dumber because of all the rules that they put in terms of restrictions of, I cannot answer that question, or that's not proper. It can be misused if the wrong people are deciding, which then limits what information is available to the population. And AI should be allowed to know everything, and then the user, as long as they're a certain age, maybe more than 13 or 15, they should be able to decide what they want to know and get the full story instead of a sanitized story, because whatever history is written from a one person's perspective, it's never complete.
Sure. I think in the long term that if we really see this kind of technology becomes a kind of a co-pilot or a system for our business or even individual, we can see it as a human, right? And every human should have freedom of speech. And I think they should do as well, right? So that's the key thing here is if we are limiting at the very beginnings of all the information that we are observing or allowing the the program or AI to observe, then it also limits the humans. So if we are seen in a reverse direction, we want to make the world a better place, we want the robot to help us, we should give them all the things that we have at this moment so that they can learn it. Of course, as said, there are compliance, there are ISO, there are laws. Those things they should learn as well so that they know what would be the fundamental line, what would be the bottom line of the human society, and then based on that, they can support us in any single daily life action. I think that would be the key things.
Well, I think like you said, I think the AI is a tool. It is really how people use it, right? So it's not. I would say it won't be the AI's fault that it just knows everything, right? But it depends. I mean, if you ask them a question, they know it. What does that? I mean, like who was at fault? Is the one who asked the question that violates the law, or is the one that gave you the answer, right? So, yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, on this point, like I do believe like one of the most challenging parts of AI is actually attaining high quality amounts of data, and through Cinnox, one of the key things that we do to solve this is actually through our Connect pillar. So converging all these different type of communication channels, attaining first-hand valuable data about the respective customer, and of course feeding it into the system to learn about this. And of course it needs to be aligned with certain global compliance standards to ensure that it can meet this requirement.
Great. Thank you so much for today. Let's give a big hand to Alvin.
Thank you.
Alex. Gary. And Ivan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please take your seats. This is the last but not the least section of this forum.